So let's start with a huge question, one that's been around forever. Are we the ones writing our own stories, or are we just, running a program we can't even see? In this explainer, we're going to dig into that by looking at two totally different ways of seeing what it even means to be alive. Okay, so on one side, you have this idea that pretty much everything, from a tiny little organism all the way up to human society, is basically just a very, very complex machine. And if you buy into that, our purpose is really just defined by the instructions we're given and the world we're operating in. But then, there's a completely different take, that life is nothing like a machine. This view says that living things have some kind of internal, self-made purpose, a drive that doesn't come from an outside program, but from the very essence of being. Now listen, this is not just some sleepy philosophical debate. This is a full-blown battle over how we define ourselves. It's a fight that's happening in science, in philosophy, and, as we're about to see, even in some of the greatest literature ever written. All right, let's jump into that first worldview, the cybernetic view. The big idea here is that any kind of purposeful behavior, whether it's in your thermostat at home or in a human being, is all running on the same basic logic. The fancy term for this is cybernetic teleology, but all it really means is that purpose is like goal-oriented programming. A system has a target, a goal, and its entire job is to notice when it's off target, that's the error, and correct itself to get back to where it's supposed to be. I mean, think about a thermostat, right? Its goal is to keep the room at 70 degrees. If it gets too cold, boom, it detects that error and turns on the heat. Simple. But here's the wild part. Supporters of this view say that biological regeneration works the exact same way. An organism has a target shape, and if it gets injured, its cells go to work to fix that error until the original shape is back. It's the same logic, just way, way more complex. So the big takeaway here is this. From the cybernetic point of view, there isn't some huge magical gap between a living thing and a machine we build. The only real difference is complexity. We're just incredibly advanced hardware running some seriously sophisticated software. And this idea, it's not just a thought experiment. It can become terrifyingly real. The brilliant American author Richard Wright built his entire career exploring what happens when a society starts treating people like they're just cogs in a machine. In Wright's novels, this external program isn't neat and tidy code. Oh no, it's the brutal, dehumanizing system of Jim Crow. It's the crushing weight of poverty and the ever-present threat of racial violence. These are the outside forces that program the lives of his characters, setting their goals and limiting their every move. You see, they aren't viewed as individuals with their own inner purpose. Nope, they're treated like objects, like tools or obstacles that exist inside this massive social machine, a machine that was definitely not built to serve them. Their lives are effectively programmed from the outside in. But what if that entire mechanical way of looking at the world is just wrong? This is where the biocentric view comes in, with a powerful counterpunch. It says, hold on, there is a spark inside living things that you will never, ever find in a machine. A purpose that isn't programmed, but that just bubbles up from the process of being alive. The philosopher Hans Jonas just nails it with this quote. Think about it. A machine is made of stable parts, right? And they just wear out. But a living thing, it keeps going because it's always changing, constantly rebuilding itself second by second. And the engine for all this is metabolism. It's not just about burning calories. It is the constant, never-ending process of self-creation. An organism is both the builder and the thing being built, always making and remaking itself just to keep existing. Jonas had this amazing phrase for it, needful freedom. We need things from the world to survive, sure, but our freedom comes from constantly creating our own being out of those things. So this really brings the whole fight into sharp focus. A machine has an extrinsic purpose. It was built by something else for something else. Its goal was given to it. But an organism's purpose, that's intrinsic. Its main goal isn't to get a task done. Its main goal is just to keep up its own act of self-creation, to just continue. And that intrinsic purpose creates something a machine can never have, a real self-concern. Because a living thing is always just one step away from not existing, it has this deep, elemental urge to keep going. Its actions aren't just about fixing errors. They're about expressing a fundamental drive to be. Okay, so if we take this new biocentric idea and look back at Richard Wright's characters, everything changes. What if their fight isn't just about social justice? What if it's something deeper, something biological? Looked at this way, they're not just victims of an oppressive social program anymore. They are living, breathing, metabolizing organisms, fired up by that internal, primal urge to continue. Their rebellion, even when it seems hopeless, becomes the ultimate biological statement. I am not an object. I'm a self-making being, and my purpose is my own. And man, this line from Wright's character Cross Damon, it just says it all. That is a declaration of independence. It's not just about breaking society's rules. It's the cry of a living organism demanding the freedom to direct its own existence, to be the author of its own purpose. So, where does all of this leave us? You've got these two huge competing ideas, the world as a computer program and life as this self-stoking fire. What happens when those two things smash into each other? Well, that's where you find the genius of Richard Wright. He takes this war of ideas out of the philosophy books and makes it real and brutal and tragic and human. His novels are the very battleground where that internal, biological need for freedom goes head-to-head with a world that wants to slap an external, mechanical program onto it. The tragedy of his characters, and also their incredible power, comes from this endless, unresolved friction. They're caught right in the middle between their own inner drive to be and all the forces on the outside trying to crush them into a simple function, into an object, into a thing. And that, of course, brings the whole question right back to us, doesn't it? In our own lives, in a world that's just packed with social media pressure and expectations and algorithms, how do we even tell the difference? When are we just running a script that someone else wrote for us? And when are we tapping into that deeper, messier, metabolic fire of what it means to be truly alive?